afternoon, everyone. I welcome all the participants and our resource person, Honorable Dr. Sharvil Farouz sir, to the second session of our AICT IST sponsored online induction refresher program on innovations in concrete technology. Before we begin, I would like to inform all the participants regarding the conditions set by AICT for granting certificate at the end of FDP. Certificates will be provided by AICT and not by the institute conducting the FDP. AICT requires compulsory attendance for all the session, that is 100% attendance. Participants will have to give a mandatory test of 30 marks in MCQ format at the end of the FDP. Only those participants who score a minimum of 60% marks will receive completion certificate from AICT. Every session link will be shared on the FDP WhatsApp group before the session begins. Attendance will be recorded at the end of each session, along with the feedback of the session. Attendance link will also be shared on the FDP WhatsApp group and it will be active for 1 hour only after the session ends. Now, I would like to introduce our today's resource person, Honorable Dr. Sharvil Farouz sir. Dr. Sharvil Farouz holds a PhD in structural engineering from IIT Bombay. He is the founder of Infrastructure Risk Management, a company to help bridge owners avoid unexpected failures by analyzing their remaining life and proactively implementing service life extension strategies. After the Gokhale Bridge collapse in 2018, Dr. Sharvil has worked with Central Railway for the rapid vulnerability assessment of 157 bridges. He has published 17 journal papers and now writing a book on 120 years maintenance-free life for marine bridges. He has been a speaker at 2 international platforms, thrice delivered live telecast, and deliberated on 13 national forums to share his technologies with the authorities. Dr. Sharvil is evolving with infrastructure projects of remaining life analysis, target life rehabilitation, and providing maintenance-free life for new bridges. He is active on LinkedIn and connects with motivated people and clients. So let us begin our today's session on how to make your new RC infrastructure major maintenance free. Now I would like to request Sir to start the session.
So thank you for this introduction. Polytechnic Institute for inviting me. It is absolutely wonderful program which they have organized, and really I must appreciate the enthusiasm. I'm in constant touch with Professor Prasad Sawan, and I should really appreciate how he has completely managed all this event. Really thanks to him. So I will. So first of all, are you able to hear me? Am I audible to you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so I'll share my screen. Could you enable me to share the screen?
So I have hosted you.
Okay. Do you see the screen now?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Before I begin my presentation, I would like to first of all thank God and remember God that instead of this COVID situation, we are still able to meet on this platform, and really thank God that He has kept us safe, and that is why we are meeting here one on one here. So really thanks to God first before my starting the presentation. Okay. So my focus here will be like I'm going to explain an idea, okay, or a technology which every engineer should learn, and yet most of the engineers go without knowing about this technology. I'm going to explain an idea that will help you to learn and understand and apply, okay, every single piece of information and knowledge which you are going to gain from this 1 week seminar from all the fantastic speakers who are going to speak for this program. Okay. And I'm going to explain a technology to you that is so transformative and yet so simple to apply that it has a power to change our complete infrastructure geography of the country and make it, thus making it a really a superpower. Okay. So that considering this, okay, you must be wondering the title of the presentation is quite different. Okay. Making the new RC infrastructure major maintenance free. Okay. But before coming to this topic, okay, let me tell you how I began my journey. Okay. So just tell me how many of you have seen such kind of pictures. Okay, just you can raise your hand or you can put it in the comment. Okay, that yes, we have seen such kind of pictures, and it is very common, okay, to see such kind of pictures in our infrastructure. Yes. So yeah, I can see that people are raising their hands. So yes, we have seen such kind of pictures, and we are calling this as an engineered structure. Okay, and still such engineered structures, we can see that such situations are happening. The concrete is falling down. Sometimes even the slab has collapsed. And this story is very personal to me because in 2011 there was heavy monsoon, and this is part of my uncle's home. This slab, the plaster and the concrete, it fell on my uncle. Okay, because of heavy corrosion, you can see here, and it caused lot of trouble to us. Okay, we had to rush him to the hospital, and we had to go through a lot of trouble. But as a civil engineer or as a structural engineer, I always thought at the back of my mind that why such thing has happened. Okay, since we are civil engineer, we are designing this structure, and we cannot tell when such kind of incident is going to take place. Are we really doing an engineering? Okay. So that is how I came into this field. So my only the motivation when I began my career was to prevent such a thing from happening, and that is how we came to the technology of major maintenance free life for infrastructure. Okay. You might be asking me that is corrosion the only effect which causes such kind of deterioration? Of course not. Okay. There are many kinds. There is chloride induced corrosion. Okay, corrosion also has two types: chloride induced corrosion, carbonation induced corrosion. Okay, there is loss of concrete strength over time. In case of bridges, if you consider, there is loss of pre-stress. Okay. So all of these are the factors which cause the degradation or the such kind of collapses. Okay. But for the keeping the focus very limited for this presentation, I am going to talk only about chloride induced corrosion. Okay. Since I am getting 1 hour for my presentation, I cannot cover everything, but I will focus only on the chloride induced corrosion. Okay. And chloride induced corrosion has been found to be affecting everybody everywhere. Okay. Even that electricity pole which is there. Now Sawantwadi is about I think 20 kilometers away from the coastline. Okay, even there we can find out that these simple electricity poles which are made of concrete, they are also corroding. And this, I will give you just two international examples. You can see here on the left, this is known as Ulasundet Bridge, which was built in Norway. And after constructing, within 25 years, this bridge had to be demolished. You can see it is in very marine environment, chloride rich environment. Okay. It has to be demolished within 25 years. Okay. And within this 25 years, they had to continuously keep on repairing this bridge again and again and again. And at the end of 25 years, you will be surprised to know that the cost of repair was equal to the original cost of construction of the bridge. So just imagine, today we are talking about 100 years life for bridges and infrastructure. If we wanted to keep this bridge, Ulasundet Bridge, for 100 years with repairs every time, we'll have to spend 4 times the project cost. Okay, so once you spend one amount for constructing, and then you keep on repairing it. Okay, this one Al Shingada tunnel on the right side, you can see this is in Dubai. This also got so much corroded. It is under this river, which is very close to the sea, so there is a lot of chloride. Within 9 years, it had to be rehabilitated. Okay, so you just imagine how chloride-induced corrosion can be severe. Now, before going any further, you might be asking me, what is major maintenance free? Okay, what is major maintenance free and what is a major only maintenance free? There is a difference. Okay, let me tell you the difference. Just maintenance free and major maintenance free, these are completely separate terms. Okay, just maintenance, if you take, maintenance means regular cleaning of the bridge or any infrastructure, keep giving paint to that bridge, okay, cleaning it. This is known as maintenance. Now this maintenance we cannot avoid, we have to do it. But what is major maintenance? Major maintenance is the rehabilitation which we do to the bridge, okay, after it has deteriorated severely. And as I told you, that repair cost is just 4 times that of the, for the Ulasundet Bridge case, that repair cost is 4 times the project cost. So that is where I am focusing. So I am focusing on major maintenance free design for a particular infrastructure, so that you do not require to do any kind of repair in the future at all. You design it now itself in such a way that it does not require any major maintenance in the future. That is the overall concept of my presentation. Since I have been working in this industry, I have been in contact with various bridge owners, infrastructure owners. They have also come across this trouble that they are facing lot of, they have to spend lot of money just to do the rehabilitation of the bridges. So they are also becoming aware that if we are somehow able to design it for a longer period of time, and we can delay the rehabilitation, we'll be able to save a lot of money, and that money will help to develop our nation. Instead of just spending on repair, we can spend that money on the development of our country. So I have always come across these 7 questions. Okay, in summary, what all these 7 questions are is, they will always ask me, can you design this particular bridge so that it will last for 100 years? Okay, now it can last for 100 years. Okay, but what is the point if it lasts for 100 years and you have to repair the bridge every 5 years? Okay, so what they are intending is, can you make this bridge completely rehabilitation free for 100 years? Okay, then what is the first time of rehabilitation? Now this is a very important question when you consider existing bridges. Existing bridges which were not designed as considering the maintenance free technology, they are always going to have a rehabilitation problem. Okay, so this is also one of the issues with that. When should you do the first repair of the bridge? Okay. Explain how are you going, are you accounting global warming into effect? Okay. This I will come later. I will tell you how why they are asking this question. Explain how are you going to achieve the design service. Now, if you ask any consultant, any contractor, okay, what is the provision that you make to make this bridge last for 100 years? You explain me how are you making it 100 years? The most common answer you will get is we have followed all the codal provisions. Okay, and the code says the bridge is 100-year life, so therefore it is 100-year life. Okay, this answer is very empirical. It doesn't have any engineering calculation at the background. It just says that we have followed all codal provisions. But later you will also see that this is also not sufficient. Okay. So basically these are the 7 questions. As a summary I have told you. Okay, and as an company which provides solution for such issues, what I am basically providing is relief from these questions which could be arising for such infrastructures. Okay. So now I'll begin. First few slides I will always dedicate to research because without research nothing can be done in this world. Okay, so a few slides on the research part which we have done before coming to the industry as part of my PhD at IIT Bombay. So primary this part of the research I will tell you, we wanted to understand how exactly the corrosion is affecting the structure. Okay. So we had to study the effect of chlorides on concrete and on corrosion. How does it affect the strength of concrete and the strength of the steel? So we had conducted lot of lab tests. We also did lot of actual exposure tests. We also got lot of concrete samples from existing infrastructures for performing the test, so that our lab tests can be related with the actual site conditions. Okay. We also did a lot of advanced laser technology to identify the variation of strength due to corrosion, how corrosion is affecting the rebar. We found it out as the level of corrosion increased, how does it affect the strength of the steel reinforcement. Then how does that chloride travel through the concrete? How does it go into the concrete? Okay, that also we had studied and we developed models to understand for every type of concrete, okay, and for a given amount of chlorides which is attacking it, what will be the speed at which that chloride goes into the concrete. Okay. This is very important to know what is the speed, because that again I will explain it to you later. We also did full scale test. We did a pre-stress eye girder, concrete girder, and we saw its performance, how it behaves under corrosion. Okay. So our technologies are very tried and tested, and we have also implemented one project which I am going to show you. Is we have done these calculations for them. Okay, and that is the case study which I am presenting to you. Okay. So one slide about my company also I will put, because unless that you will not know what I am doing to solve the problems of our nation. We are actually sole responsible people to deal with any kind of infrastructural troubles which you have. Okay. And we have 4 specializations. One is remaining life analysis. Okay, so what will be the remaining life? How long the structure can last without doing any rehabilitation? Target life rehabilitation. Okay. Very specifically, if you ask me, I want a life extension after rehabilitation to be 10 years or say 15 years precisely. Okay. We have the capability, since we know how the material behaves under deterioration, we are able to provide you with the exact life. Okay. Life cycle management and structural health monitoring. Okay. And today's focus will be maintenance free strategy. That is what I am talking to you today. Now, you will ask me, what does it mean by 100 years? Of course, now these new bridges, you might have heard many metros are coming in our state. Okay, Mumbai Metro, Pune Metro, Nagpur is there. Okay, they are all specifying in the tender document life of 100 years or even 120 years also. Okay. So before going to this technology, let me tell you what the code requires from 100-year life. Okay. So IRC 112, you are very familiar with this code for bridges. Okay, just take a look at what this the definition of service life of 100 years means as per this code. I will read it for you. So period for which a structure or a part of it is to be used for its intended purpose, okay, with anticipated maintenance but without necessary of major repairs. Okay. Now you can again put in the chat. Okay. How many of you have come across? So you might have come across some consultant who is designing it. Okay, and how many of them give the guarantee that this structure will not have any major repair during its life? Okay. I did not find it personally because whenever I used to ask the client's consultant who have been working with the client, but now because of some trouble, because of these major repairs they are occurring, they have contacted me to solve their problem. So I asked their consultant, do you give a guarantee that there will be absolutely no repair for the structure? They say we cannot give. How can we give? But then I tell them, see, the code says that your structure should be without any necessity of major repairs. How do you answer this? So they say we don't know how to do it. Okay, so this is very big issue which they have to handle, not for the sake of just engineering, but for the sake of our nation. Because to tell you very frankly, currently, according to my sources, we have found out that close to 47% of our resources are just being used for doing the rehabilitation. Imagine if these resources or these funds we can use for the development of the nation, our nation would have been so ahead of other countries, we would have a superpower right now. Okay. So this is a very major issue which we have to handle. How to make our infrastructure or bridges absolutely major maintenance free. Okay, and if we are able to do that, we are doing the nation a great service. Okay. So far, we have been doing structural design. Okay, but because of this 100-year life requirement, we just cannot keep to structural design. We also have to go for longevity design. Very simply, I will explain to you what is the difference between these two. Okay. So take a look at this figure at the bottom. Structural design, what it does, it brings the particular bridge to a certain capacity, okay, certain structural performance. But structural design does not consider the behavior of that bridge after it has been constructed. So structural design is just limited to the time of construction. That's it, nothing else. Okay. Whereas longevity design is this red part, this red line which you can see here, because it tells you the behavior of that structure over the next 100 years, how it is going to perform over the next 100 years. So of course, if you take a look at this picture, the construction period, okay, on an average, okay, this is not very accurate, I am not giving an accurate figure, but a ballpark number. So the construction and pre-construction stage could be accounting to for 4 years, whereas the life cycle is 100 years, which takes care of the longevity design. So if you ask me which is more important, okay, I would say both are equally important, but within this importance, if you want to save your money, longevity design is more important than just structural design. Okay. So with this clear, okay, so now you know what is structural design and what is longevity design. I will be not talking about structural design here in this presentation. We all are expert in this field. Okay, it is very good knowledge which we have. But longevity design, very little experts are there. Okay, so I will be talking on this because that is where you require repairs, rehabilitation, okay, that we want to avoid. So I'll be talking about the Mumbai Coastal Road project. This is very famous project which is going on right now in Mumbai, and it is very famous because of many controversies also. Okay, it has been stuck, then it has been started, and so on. So this is a very coastal area, and highly affected by chlorides. So therefore, I will be talking about this. So therefore, I chose the topic of presentation for chloride-induced corrosion. It is not the case that no other deterioration are not happening, but chloride will occur at such a fast rate that the bridge will collapse because of chloride corrosion first. Okay. Now there are certain structural components for this project which I will tell you. Okay. So there is of course a C bridge. Okay. So this is the bridge cross section which you can see. Okay, piles, pile cap, pier, box girder. Then there is also a tunnel which is going under the sea. Under the sea. So you can see here, this is the sea water, sea level. There is the subsoil, and this is the tunnel. Then in certain areas, they are also doing reclamation. For reclamation, they need a concrete sea wall. Okay, so this is known as a sea wall, which keeps a barrier between the sea water and the backfill or the reclamation. So you can see each of these components is surrounded by chloride-rich environment. Therefore, everyone will be attacked by chloride. That is for sure. Okay. So now, in such a severe situation, if you want to make the project to be maintenance free or major maintenance, sorry, I should always say major maintenance free, not just maintenance free, major maintenance free, we need to understand how this chloride induced corrosion is taking place. Okay. So you can take a look at this picture here. This is St. George Bridge. Okay, and it is corroded, which you can see. You are all familiar with this. Our objective is to avoid such kind of appearance, because when such appearance is there, we have to do the rehabilitation for the bridge. Okay. So here, if you see this graph, I will explain to you now. This corrosion initiation stage. Okay, this part. Okay. In this part, what happens after the structure has been constructed? Because of the chloride environment, the chloride from the atmosphere will enter the concrete. Okay, they will enter the concrete and they will penetrate through the concrete until this figure you see, until the chlorides reach at the reinforcement level, rebar level. And you know that when these chlorides attack the reinforcement, they will start to rust. Okay. After rusting, the rust will be causing cracking of the concrete. Okay, so you can see in this figure, these white cracks are being developed. Okay, and after these cracks are formed, you will see such kind of concrete will be swelling from the bridge, and this condition will be appeared. This condition will be appearing on the bridge. So now the logic to make a major maintenance free is, if we can somehow control the progress of the chloride, okay, and restrict it only to this level, this level, this second stage level, where the chlorides just reach the reinforcement level, then in that case we will completely avoid this cracking and rehabilitation requirement for our bridges. Okay, so that is the entire technology which focuses on. Okay? If we are able to control the behavior of structure in such a manner that it does not crack, then we are able to achieve the concept of major maintenance free plan. Okay, so that I will elaborate here in this figure. It will be much more clearer to you now, because many of us may not be familiar with how this chloride ingress might be taking place. Okay? So therefore, I am presenting this slide for you. So this gray part, you can see this is gray is concrete, and this black are the reinforcements. Okay? Because of these chlorides which are outside the concrete, they will start accumulating on the concrete surface. Okay, and they will start penetrating the concrete at a diffusion rate of D. So D is the diffusion rate, and CS is the amount of chlorides which are attacking the concrete. Okay, and D is how the chlorides, how fast they penetrate the concrete. Okay. And this X is the cover depth, concrete cover. Okay, and now when these chlorides reach this reinforcement level, they have to reach at a certain value. Okay, so this CTH value is when the chloride concentration at the reinforcement level reaches the CTH value. Okay, then the corrosion will start to take place. Okay, to give you a very simple example, see, consider that you are filling the bucket of water. Okay. Now this water which is falling inside, okay, these are the chlorides. Okay. So you keep on filling it. After it has reached a certain level, okay, then the water will start flowing from this outlet. Okay. So similarly, when this chloride reach at certain CTH value, only then it will start flowing and start corroding. Okay, so that is how you can understand this. So now then we have to put the design equation. So this box you can see is known as the limit state function. We have seen limit state of flexure, limit state of shear, limit state of torsion. Similarly, this is also a limit state. I call this limit state of longevity, because we are making it major maintenance free, so it has to live long. So it is called limit state of longevity. What do you see here is this is the CTH value from here, and this is the chloride concentration function. This D, this X, and the time from the time of the construction until what time is achieved. So when this equation can be equated to 0, our corrosion will just start. Okay, so that is the limit state which we have to use for design of the structure. Now I have shown you this slide before. Okay, now first we have seen all these terms are there. We have to define so whenever you take up a project, you have to define all of these terms first. Define in the sense, not define in the words, but you have to quantify it. You have to go to the field, do some measurements, and know what are the design engineered values which we have to use for design. Okay, just like when you are designing a girder or a beam, okay, you need to know what is the live load, what is the floor finish. Okay, you need to know what are the earthquake forces which are occurring. Okay. Now you will ask me that in structural design we don't measure these values, correct? Do you agree with me? We don't measure because it has been standardized by the code. But in terms of deterioration, this chloride load, I would call this, it varies from place to place. It cannot be standardized. So one project I do in Mumbai, other project I do in Cochin, other project I do in Chennai, all the conditions will be separate. So you cannot standardize it. So we have to go to the site, perform the measurements, and then arrive at what is the amount of chloride loads. So we have to first define the chloride loads for each of these structure. Now, for this project, coastal road project, a lot of measurement has been taken along the coastal region, and we have come up with what kind of chloride concentration should be considered, okay, when we are designing each of these three structural components: bridges, tunnels, and the seaboard. Okay. So we have defined this chloride concentration. It has a unit of percentage of weight of cement. Okay. This is always defined in terms of the percentage of cement. So 1 meter cube of concrete you have taken, you know how much, say 350 kilograms of cement you have added to this concrete. So number of amount of chlorides will be defined in terms of percentage of this cement. Okay. And since we are taking a lot of number of measurements, each and every measurement will not be same, that you know. Okay. If you take measurement at this location, then you take the chloride concentration measurement at the other location, it will not be same. Okay. We have to accept this fact that in civil engineering, measurement at one location and the measurement at other location will not be same at all. So in order to consider this variability, we have to define this chloride load in terms of a so-called distribution or probability distribution that is shown here. Okay. Now this probability distribution, I'm not going to explain you, okay, how it is formulated, but you must understand that it is something of a kind that for a given location where the height of this curve is maximum, those values you will find more. Whereas on these other sides where it is tapering, you will find those values at a given site in a lesser frequency. So now here you can consider it as a histogram. Okay, just like histogram, how you make a histogram, just like that, this is a probability density function. Okay. Next, we have to define the concrete cover. Okay, now this is very tricky. Okay. You know, as per IS 456 and also IRC 112, we can provide, depending on the conditions, we can provide certain concrete cover for a given structure. Let us say 75 mm cover you provide. Do you think that while executing the contractor will precisely exactly provide 75 mm cover? Because of, since civil engineering structures are so large, maintaining very high level of accuracy becomes very difficult. Okay. To give you an example, okay, we did one assessment of a bridge, and we had to find out what is the cover depth at each and every location for that bridge. Design cover provided was 50 mm. Okay, but what we saw here, see this figure here, we saw that the actual concrete cover varied between 35 mm to 65 mm. Okay. So you can see, even when the specification was 50 mm, there is such a variability. Okay. So that is how which we should know beforehand what will be the variability. But now the question arises from your side, before constructing, how do we know that what will be the variability? Okay. So in that case, IS 456 has provided us a helpful guideline. It says that the rebar placement, okay, they have given one tolerance. What is the tolerance of the cover? So they have said that actual provided, say 75 mm plus minus 15 mm or 10 mm is also there, okay, depending on the size of the structural member. This will be the acceptable level of tolerance. So this we can use in the form of this probability distribution and can use as the starting point for doing the design. Okay. But this is just the first part which I am telling you. Later on, you will also know that even if this is not satisfied, how to overcome this challenge and provide an absolute major maintenance free. So that will come at a later stage. The third component, CTH. Just one note, since these terms might be new to you, if you have any doubts, you can ask in between my presentation also. Okay? So if you have any doubts, you can prompt and ask the question, and I will happy to answer you there itself. Okay. So this is the third component, critical chloride concentration or CTH. Now this depends on the type of concrete which you use and the type of steel reinforcement which you are using. Okay. So this is a fixed value for a given concrete and for a given steel. These are fixed value, and we have experimentally found out for a given combination of steel and concrete what will be the CTH value. Okay. So this experiment we had performed, and it is possible to know at what amount of chlorides do the corrosion actually start. So from that, when the corrosion will start, we'll know what is the amount of critical concentration for that concrete steel combination. Okay. So that we have worked out. So this need not be done again and again. Since we have all this database available with us, there is no need to do these experiments again and again. This is the most important part, perhaps. The fourth part, which is the diffusion, or the D part, which we said. Okay. How fast does the chloride penetrate the concrete? Okay. This is an experimental setup which you can see. In this lab setup, we force the chlorides to penetrate the concrete. Okay. So this is the concrete sample which you can see, and the chlorides have penetrated in this white portion, and we are fixing this time so that we are able to calculate the rate. So the depth we know and the time required for going through that depth, that we know. So we are able to quantify the rate at which the chlorides diffuse into the concrete. So this is very important. Now this property depends purely on the concrete which you are using. So this is a pure concrete property. So we have worked out for 30 concrete mixes ranging from M30 concrete to M60 concrete. We chose this range of concrete because these are the generally preferred concrete mixes for all bridge projects. Okay, so M30 to M60, we have in between 30 concrete mixes with various different kinds of cements, OPC, then supplementary cementitious materials such as fly ash, GGBS, okay, other lime calcinated cement. So based on this, we obtained 30 concrete mixes, and we have worked out this the rate at which the chlorides enter into every concrete product. Okay. Now, global warming. Okay, so as I promised to you in the slide number 2, why these authorities are asking for the inclusion of global warming. See, if you take a look at this projection of temperature rise over the 100 years, there is an expected rise of temperature from 2000 from the year 2000 to the year 2100 of at least 4.5 degrees. Okay. Now, if there is just 1 degree rise in temperature, corrosion will accelerate, will increase its penetration, or the corrosion activity will increase by 47%. So just imagine if there is rise of 4 degrees, how fast the corrosion will take place in our bridges. So therefore, if we can take this increase in temperature and how it affects our corrosion activity at the design stage itself, it will really benefit us. Therefore, it is necessary that to take global warming into consideration. Okay. So now we have all done all our site projects, site measurements we have done, we have quantified all the design parameters. Now it is time to design to make the actual project major maintenance free. Okay. So this is our proprietary software which we use, which is called MFL 100 Plus. Okay. This we have developed in our company over our own software which we use to design for the major maintenance free. Okay. And all the calculation which I'll be showing you are an output of this software. Okay. So in this software, we first feed all the chloride loads, okay, all the concrete related inputs, all the steel related inputs, okay. Also the global warming prediction also we give as an input to the software. So all our loads, all our deterioration loads are given as an input, and now as an output we want the resistance parameter of this for the bridge project. Okay. So now let us see how the design calculation and specifications are created. I have shown you this limit state function called the longevity limit state function before. So the peculiarity or the speciality of this design is that it is not done in our regular deterministic form. It has to be done in a probabilistic form. Okay. So therefore, what the actual design equation is this, which is the probability of this limit state function at year 100 is not exceeded. That probability should be less than a target probability of failure. Okay. So in this equation, we have kept a target probability of failure. Now this target probability of failure, it is completely depend on the importance of the structure and on the life of the structure. Okay. So if we have a long life, the probability will be less. If you have a shorter life, the probability will be high. Okay. So if you have any questions regarding this, okay, we will not be including details about this probabilistic design. Probably we can talk one-on-one. I can share my contact with you. If you have any doubts, you can directly contact me. But my idea for this presentation is to explain to you the concepts only. Okay. So now, okay, so this is our system. This left-hand side image, you can see this is our system, which we are actually designing. Okay, so we are designing the type of steel to be used, the type of concrete to be used or decided, and the size of the concrete cover. Okay. Also, there is one more factor which are there for design. Okay. These are called as active parameters, passive parameters, and the last parameter. So active parameters are the concrete type, which I told you just now, and the cover size. These are active because they can be easily changed. They are very easy to change as needed by the design for a particular project. Passive parameters are kind of more rigid to change because generally they are fixed because they have limited scope to change. So, for example, if I tell you, if I use say stainless steel, then there is very little I can do in terms of changing it from stainless steel to mild steel. Okay. So therefore, in that case, these are kind of very difficult to change. Although you can change, that is not an issue, but certain in a design which you know, certain values have to be fixed. Only then we can do the optimization of the other parameters, right? Then we also have a corrosion inhibitor. Corrosion inhibitor, what it does, it basically increases the CTH value. This CTH value here in the equation you can see it increases that. Okay. And the last parameter is the surface coating. Surface coating, what it does, it inhibits the surface and it prevents the chlorides from penetrating at a very fast rate. So it slows down the chlorides. Okay. So now let me take these parameters in detail now. So now first let us choose a type of concrete. Okay. So this is the design equation. Now the design equation in this previous slide, this is absolutely the same. It is the same. Just what we have done, we have rearranged that equation to write in this format. Okay. And this equation is plotted in this curve. You can see. So this curve is basically the curve of this design equation. Now we have fixed a probability of failure. Okay. That is fixed for a given project. Say for example, when we have fixed the probability to 0.1, so we draw a horizontal line from that 0.1 probability to the curve, and then where it intersects the curve, we drop a vertical line, and that will give us the required of the diffusion value for a given project. Similarly, if you have a different probability of failure, say 0.5 here in this case, and you get a different diffusion value. Okay. So this is how we decide. Now, once we have decided this D value, how to choose the concrete type. Okay. Remember, in the previous slide, I told you that we have tested 30 concrete mixes from M30 to M60. Okay. So these are the concrete mixes. So these are the 30 concrete mixes which we have tested. And for each concrete mix, we have found out what is the D value. Okay, the diffusion value. And so now once we have got that this required D from this curve, we will check which is the most closest concrete mix to our required value, and we'll provide that concrete. So very simple to implement. Okay. Then similar approach we also adopt for deciding the concrete cover. Okay. So concrete cover also, again, see, you can see here we have written the equation in a different form, but now in terms of the concrete cover. And the methodology is absolutely same. We draw a horizontal line from the probability of failure, and we get a required service life or the required cover, whatever be the case may be. Now we come to the passive parameter. So first is the type of rebar. Now in this project we have decided to use three type of three type of reinforcement. One is our regular carbon steel. Okay. The next is galvanized steel, and the third is the stainless steel. Okay. So now this rebar, you will ask me which parameter of the design equation does it affect. So the type of rebar affects the CTH value. CTH value, the chloride concentration, critical chloride concentration value. For stainless steel, it is higher, okay, and for the carbon steel, it is the lowest. So if you see, if I want to use stainless steel, okay, it is much more, it has a much higher value of CTH as compared to the carbon steel. But unfortunately, what happens? Stainless steel, if you are using stainless steel instead of carbon steel, your project cost will be increased by 50%. That is the only limitation of stainless steel. Therefore, engineers are very reluctant, even the asset owners are very reluctant to use stainless steel. However, if we are able to do a very optimized design strategy called targeted, or just like surgical strike, only where it is required, we provide stainless steel. We can have a lot of saving, but over a life cycle, complete life cycle. So no matter which reinforcement you use, it is very important that you quantify what is the CTH value for that particular reinforcement. Unless this CTH value is known to you, anybody will come and say to you, use stainless steel. Okay. That should not be your approach to a design. You should first know what is the CTH value of the stainless steel, because of two reasons. One is stainless steel is very costly, and the second, what if stainless steel is absolutely not required, and then even though then you are still using stainless steel, the exposure or the amount of chlorides could be such low condition, okay, that even if you use mild steel, it could be sufficient. But just because it is closer to the sea and someone is telling you to use stainless steel, you should not go for that. Okay. Then the next passive parameter is the corrosion inhibitor. These are becoming very popular these days. So we add about say 1%, 2% of the concrete mix as an inhibitor, and this inhibitor, corrosion inhibitor, it increases the chloride threshold value, CTH value, for a given steel. That is the benefit of using inhibitor. But the use of inhibitor again has to be decided by adding a particular inhibitor, how much is the CTH value is increased. The argument is same which I made for stainless steel. People might be telling you to add the inhibitor, but is it really required? That you have to assess through, you can ask them what is the CTH value for this, by how much my CTH value will go up if I use this inhibitor, and again, is it really required? That we can also work out through our major maintenance free strategy. And the last is the surface coating. This I called the last parameter because see, surface coating is something external which you apply. So even after your design, you are spending more money on something extra which you have to put on. So generally I advise to play with only the first four parameters, which is the concrete cover, steel, and inhibitor. Okay. So you play with all these components only. But even after playing with this component and designing, you are not able to satisfy 100-year life. Let us say the life achieved with those four parameters is 93 years. Okay. Now this balance 7 years are remaining. Only then you go for concrete coating. And in that case, now you know that your balance life is 7 years. Now considering this, now you have to decide what is the amount of thickness of coating which you can provide. Now generally in practice what happens, the paint manufacturer or coating manufacturer, they have certain thickness which they recommend to apply. Now how do you know that this thickness is sufficient to satisfy the 7 years or not? Right? That is the question. So therefore we have to design the thickness So we have these formulations. Again, I am not putting it all the detailed formulation here because of the limitation of time. But you must understand that it is possible, considering the life required, we can decide what kind of coating and what kind of thickness of this coating to provide. Okay, that can be also decided. And as a last, we are all interested to know the specifications. What specification should we tell our contractor for doing the work? Okay. So here, which this is an outcome of the software. So what we can do, as I told you, first we have to decide the target probability, the PT value which I showed in the previous slide. That we first decide for a given project. So here you see, this is the probability just shown for example what it looks like. Okay, so you start here, draw a vertical line. Okay. Then for a given concrete cover, from that curve you draw a horizontal line. This is the concrete type. Okay. Wherever it intersects, drop a vertical line. This is the the diffusion value for a given concrete, and from that you will know what is the life you will be achieving. So by adjusting this, you need not do all the analysis again and again. We have already worked out all these charts. Okay. So just by adjusting certain parameters, you are able to know what life you will achieve for a given project. Okay. So this can be directly given to the contractor and the work can begin immediately. Okay. So this now, all this work so far which we have done in our office. Okay. So we have given all the specification, what kind of concrete to use, what kind of steel to use, what kind of inhibitor, coating if required, what kind of cover to provide. Okay. So these all the working which we have done sitting in our office. As now you know, as a civil engineer, what we do in the design and what is actually executed on the project is completely different. So our objective as an engineer is to match what we design in the office and what is executed in the site. We have to match this. So to match this, we need to do some tests on the site during the construction stage itself. Okay. So now when the construction is actually going on, IRC 112, they suggest that you take some concrete and cast some cubes or cylinders for testing the concrete strength. Okay. Concrete strength, okay, strength they give the specification. But since we are experts in the major maintenance free design, we also use these samples to test the diffusive property, the D value of the actual executed concrete. Because what happens, we specify the concrete mix design to the contractor. Sometimes the contractor will not satisfy exactly the mix design. So we should know what does the contractor satisfy our requirement or not on site. That we should check through this test again. Okay. Then we also do the test. This is called resistivity test on the samples of concrete. Now resistivity has a very good correlation. You can see here with the diffusion property or the D value of a given concrete. Okay. So this resistivity test, these can be indirectly used to check the as-built condition of the structure without actually performing the test of diffusion. And the other advantage is that this resistivity test is very fast. So during this construction stage, if we get some samples and we establish a relationship between the resistance of concrete and the diffusion of concrete, okay, this can be easily used to test the post-construction structure. Then we also have long-term verification technologies. The client will particularly ask you, you have designed this, but we want to monitor its performance over the time. So we have developed this sensor. This is also an outcome of the PhD, of my PhD. So really thanks to the Ministry of Human Resources and Ministry of Road Transport and Highways, we have got a very good response for this. And so people are implementing this technology now. And so what basically happens is this: during construction, this sensor is installed, and it will keep a track of the chlorides in the concrete, and thereby it will keep on updating you with every, say, whatever interval of time you want to be updated. It will keep on updating you, and you get real time value of the life of the structure. So therefore, even if some trouble happens in the future, you beforehand know where you should do the corrections, what kind of corrections should you do, and most importantly, what is the balance life or the remaining life of the structure. So this is an SHM technology which we implement. In addition to this SHM implementation, there are some other requirements from the client. So the client asked me, take some samples of concrete and also keep them in the project site. So for example, I can keep these concrete samples on the pile cap here, okay, in an actual exfoliator. So the logic behind this is to test in the future. If we want to test these samples to check its performance, we check on these samples rather than doing non-destructive test or destructive test on the actual structure itself. Okay. So now we have kept a track of all the diffusion value, all the resistivity values. Okay. Now the structure has been completed. Okay. Now, after the structure has been completed, the contractor has handed over to you. Now the client has still a doubt: has this contractor done a proper job or not? How can we verify this? Because the client is spending so much amount of money. So let me tell you, this Mumbai Coastal Road, the project cost is 12,761 crores. 12,000 crores is the project cost. And if you are spending so much amount of money and you cannot achieve 100-year life because of the contractor, then it is a really bad thing. So therefore, the client always has a doubt: has this project been executed properly, and is 100-year life really achieved or not? That we have to check. So that I will be covering in this post-construction stage part. Okay. So we begin with the measurement of the concrete cover. Okay. So now this pier has been established, pier has been constructed. We want to check what is the concrete cover which actually has been achieved on the site. Okay. So this one example I will show you. This is a deck, and we wanted to measure the size of the concrete cover. The specification was 75 mm cover, because since it is in such a marine environment, a high cover was been provided. So we made a grid marking on this, and we measured the concrete cover in each and every location, and we created a histogram. You see here, histogram we have created. We found average value to be 73. See, now actually provided should be 75 mm, but because of the construction errors, the project was just 73 mm, and there was some standard deviation also. So exactly 73 mm was also not possible. So it ranged between 60 mm to 80 mm. Okay. So now we know, okay, so now this construction has not been up to the mark. So there is some deviation in there. So now we have all the data by how much it is deviating. This is most important. Having the data of how far away are you from your target is very important. Only then you know how you can achieve to that target. Okay, so that we know now. I told you resistivity measurements also we had done. Now these resistivity measurements will be done on the actual site, on the actual pier. So these pier locations are marked where the resistivity are done. Now this resistivity, we had previously established relation between resistivity and the diffusion. So we have this for the resistivity value, we know what is the diffusion value. Okay. So based on that, we have also constructed a histogram for the diffusion value. So you see, we are very rapidly able to evaluate all the construction properties have been achieved or not. Okay, so this is very much important that we quantify what is the post construction properties of the structure. Okay, so now with all of these inputs, all of these structural measurements which we have taken, how do we use it? Okay, now the asset owner, they want to know, is the 100-year life achieved for this project or not? Okay, so what we should check, that using all this data we should perform a remaining life analysis through all these input data. Okay, and that remaining life analysis, if we are able to check that it is satisfying 100 years, then the contractor can be accepted or the project can be accepted. Okay, and the contractor can be made full payment. But after this remaining life analysis, if we found it is not satisfying 100-year life, say it is satisfying 97-year life. Okay, so 97, just 3 years is balance. Okay, so in such situation, the contractor should be asked to make the changes to the design. Okay, of course, now since the structure has been in place, we cannot do major changes, but now we can do the coating. Okay, so now for 3 years we want additional life. Now we can go for coating. In this case, since the contractor has defaulted by 3 years, we'll ask the contractor to pay from his own pocket for this remaining life of 3 years because he was not able to satisfy. Now, if the achieved life is 57 years, which is 43 years short, then of course you have to completely reject it. But since the contractor, since so much investment has been made, it is the liability of the contractor now to take up the corrective measures. Okay, so this is how we should provide 100 years complete life to a structure. Okay, now you might be wondering, if is this the complete technology which I have presented to you? So first of all, remember that I have been allotted just 1 hour here, so I am not able to present the complete technology to you. But what I have tried to present to you is what are the general steps one should follow. You should take steps for achieving when the project comes to you for designing for 100 years or any life, any target life. If they want, you can use this technology, and you can use this technology, but there is a limitation to this. As I told you, I have not presented everything to you, but I want you all to use this technology, because ultimately what we are doing, we are making our nation repair free. All our infrastructure we are making repair free. Plus, we are also able to know if the contractor has done the proper job or not. Okay. So all of these advantage you can see for making a major maintenance free design. So I would really like to thank you for this opportunity for sharing this technology with you. And I encourage you, these are my contact details. If you have any queries which could not be satisfied through the presentation, you can right now also ask me. Or if you have a more detailed discussion to take place, then you can call me, you can write to me on this email address, and we can take up the discussions over there. So right now, thank you for your attention, and I hope that I could provide value to you so that you can take this technology and implement it for your own use. Thank you so much for your attention. Thank you.
Participants can ask the question in the chat box. or the participants can even contact Feroz sir on his personal email if you have queries. So no questions. Can I conclude? Thank you, sir, for conducting such an informative session. I'm sure all the participants have also understood the various aspects in design durable structures which are free from major maintenance.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yes, yes, welcome, sir. Okay, the feedback link will be shared on this chat box.